Yeah, there it is.
Welcome to Coaching Your Life with TaNelle and Stef. And I am TaNelle Farnsworth, and I help people that are struggling in their marriages and divorced and to live their life to the fullest.
And I am Stef Rickdammer with Empowering You Coaching, and I work with women who are always putting everyone else first and never take the time to prioritize themselves. And today we are interviewing Kelli Morgan, and we are super excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Kelli, can you share a little bit? First, tell us what you do, if you would be so kind.
Absolutely. So I'm a life coach and motivational speaker. I help those who battle mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and postpartum depression. I empower you to take back control over your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, so that you are in the driver's seat and not the other way around. I help you set up habits to help you improve your mental state, as well as go over which holistic way or ways will help you the best in improving your outlook on life and your health in life.
And I know we were just talking about this a little bit ago, but that is something that so many people are needing support with.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
struggling with.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a huge problem before this, and it's gotten 10 times worse lately. And so many people are this is a new experience for them. They've never experienced depression before. They have no idea how to reach out. They have no idea how to speak up. And so instead of them having to speak up, I'm speaking up for them and coming to them.
And tell me why do you feel so passionate about speaking up?
I kept quiet myself for way too long. So I have had depression since I was in my early teens. I've battled it for, I think it was about 10 years before I even got a diagnosis of what it was. So I knew something was wrong, but I had no idea what was wrong. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know how to fix it. I just wanted it to go away. And my mother even could tell. She said something's wrong, but she didn't say anything to me because she didn't know what to do about it either. She didn't know what it was. And when it finally got a name put to it, I felt ashamed. How can I, at such a young age, be battling something so severe? And there were so many stigmas. There still are so many stigmas out there that it's just not fair that an unseen disease doesn't get treated the same as something that's seen. And it needs to change, and I'm passionate about getting that change for others that were suffering like me. And it's still a constant battle for me. It always will be. But I've been able to find holistic means for myself because medication didn't work for me. And there's many others out there that I've talked to that medication doesn't work for them either. So sharing my experiences with others it presents a hope for me that they will come forward as well to help find some holistic means for themselves and to help themselves, because there's no reason that you should be suffering in silence and feeling shame and guilt around mental illness. It's an illness, it's a disease, and you should be helped just as much as anybody else with a visible disease.
I think I want to tell a story, but this is about you. But I think the stigma is what holds people back, and I think it's so sad because right now, we're living in this time where people are getting an illness that is shutting down the world. But if you decided that was your stigma, like, oh, I can't tell anybody I'm sick, you would just keep spreading it. But if you go and you figure out how to help yourself, then you can help others as well, like you are. So I think that was a really, visible versus non-visible. That's a great analogy, I think.
Right. And just like if say you had strep throat or you had a sinus infection, you would speak up and you would say, I'm sick, and you'd go to the doctor and get help for it. And just like that, depression causes pain. It causes physical ailments that can eventually be seen on the outside. And it's just like your body is working so hard to fight out an infection like strep or a sinus infection, your body is fighting so hard to fight off this depression. It just can't be seen as easily. So just because you have a mental illness doesn't make you a bad person, or doesn't mean that you should feel ashamed for it, because there is help out there. And speaking up is the hardest thing to do.
Well, I think I love that you've said too before, like, so we kind of interviewed Kelli before this, but anyways, Kelli said that she was on 4 medications from 4 different doctors, and they all were bad for her. They all like caused her to have more depression and like be suicidal. So like I find that, you know, like I love that you're out to help people in a holistic way and not like, hey, here's some medicine, like just take it, you'll be fine.
Here's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
We'll cover up what's going on in the background.
Yeah, it got bad enough that the last time I went and saw the primary care doctor that gave me the 4th medication, I went in and told her, I said, I am not taking this anymore because it makes me suicidal. I'm done trying medications. And she looked at me and she said, if you're not on a medication, you're going to be suicidal. And I told her, no. I said, I may have no motivation. I may have a lack of energy. I may have a very difficult time getting out of bed to care for my son, but I'm not suicidal if I'm not taking medications. So no, I'm not taking medications anymore. And I walked out of her office. But the look she gave me was like, I'm about to lock you up in a white padded room. You know, and it was just so aggravating though. I was just so frustrated with it because I couldn't find a doctor that would listen to me. I couldn't find a doctor that would actually take the time to pay attention to my symptoms instead of just throwing a medication at me and saying, see you later, I'm done. You know, that's not the way that humans should be treated at all.
Well, and I also think that we as a society bow to the white coat. And I've said it before and I will say it again, there is a time and a place, right? Like there are certain things that need to be medicated, but just because a doctor says it doesn't mean it's so. And I think if you inside you know that, you have the empowerment to stand up and say, I'm not doing this, and walk out. I mean, that's a tough place to get to, but to believe in yourself, I think, is a powerful thing. So tell us a little bit about how you have on a daily basis, how you have worked through everything for yourself.
I will say that I'll be one of the first ones to say that medication does work for depression and anxiety for some people. But for the majority of it, I actually did research on it, and whether it comes to depression, anxiety, bipolar depression, postpartum depression, I mean, you name it, any psychiatric illness out there, there's like the same 10 medications that are prescribed for each and every single one of them. So tell me how the same medication for depression is going to help the same person that has bipolar or schizophrenia, or, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me to be all clumped together like that. If they're different illnesses, treat them differently, plain and simple. So after I left the doctor's office that day, I still had a lot of fight in me. I still had a lot of fight to stick around for my husband and for my son. And I wasn't ready to give up yet. Physically, my body was giving up on me. Mentally and emotionally, I still had that fight in me. So I kept searching for answers. And my personal answer came in the form of eliminating some of my chronic pain. I am also a 10-year cancer survivor. But on top of that, I have neuropathy and fibromyalgia as well. So the chronic pain just kind of keeps coming, and that layered on top of mental illness does not help. So one of my biggest things is making sure I have a routine down to help with my chronic pain, because that keeps the light shining bright for me and I don't go back into that dark space. So that includes a yoga routine. That includes every single night I spend 20 to 30 minutes stretching, foam rolling. I've learned how to keep the inflammation down in my body through my food. So I make sure I'm very consistent with that, because the second I put something in my body that causes inflammation, I feel it and it's a bad day. So my food choices are extremely important. Even if you don't have a lot of food allergies, they're still just as important. Everything you put in your body regenerates your cells, helps your organs function correctly, repairs muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, all of that. All of that contributes to the health of your mind. So food choice is extremely important. But on top of that, every single morning when I wake up, my shower is my peaceful time. So I take the time to go through my daily affirmations. I look at what my schedule is going to be for the day, run through step by step what I'm going to be doing all day long. And wherever I feel a little bit of stress or anxiety come up, or even tension when I'm going through that list, I focus on that for just a moment and create positive affirmations around that moment that I'm going to be experiencing that day. So when I actually get to that moment physically, I already have those affirmations that I can pull up and turn to really quickly. And that task is not going to be as daunting for me as in the beginning of the morning when I was just beginning to think about it. And one of my favorite affirmations that I use every single day that has gotten me through years of hard times is, I'm strong enough to get through this. And that word, this encompasses so much. You can put any difficult task you're facing into that term and you'll be able to get through it. Just keep reminding yourself that you are strong enough. You've gotten this far, you can keep going.
I love that affirmation. It's a good one. And anyone can use it, which I love. It's a, like, everyone has the power. Everyone can do hard things. Everyone is strong enough to do what they need to do. I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the things I've been talking about a lot lately, the idea that we have the ability to heal ourselves and like with our own mind, but just because so we've all heard the story, like the random person has cancer and the doctor says you're going to die in 6 months and they're like, no, not, and they go home, and when they go back 3 months later they have no cancer. And that's the anomaly, sure, but somewhere inside themselves they said, no, this is not my reality. And so to have that affirmation is just one way to say, this is not going to be my reality, not today. And I think that's just, our minds are so much more powerful than we give them credit for. So I love that. I love the affirmations as well.
And I was just thinking too with you, Steph, how much you work with food and the food having the power to heal. I actually learned about a year ago of an experiment that scientists were able to develop. They actually developed a camera that records fast enough to be able to record the movement of a cell. So the cell walls have elasticity around them. Every single cell in your body is constantly moving. And that's where the term vibration comes from. We put off a vibration because we literally are vibrating. You just can't see it. And they recorded a healthy cell and they recorded a cancer cell. And the cancer cell was barely moving at all. It was diseased. But the healthy cell was moving as fast as it was supposed to and performing like it was supposed to. And so depending on what we put in our body, what we feed our cells, we'll either lose the elasticity or we'll maintain the elasticity. So we'll either create disease or we'll prevent it. Oh, it was the coolest experiment. I wish I can remember the name of it now. I'll have to look it up.
Yes, please let me know. You're right. That's totally my thing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, as you were saying, the ability to say that to yourself every day, and just have that in your back pocket once you reach that moment. And TaNelle and I actually have it written down right here. I have, and you probably can't see them, but it's the whole bunch of affirmations
I am thankful today. Yeah.
So, but I think, would you say to somebody that's having a hard time, like, write down the affirmations and literally put them in your back pocket if you needed to see them?
Absolutely. So when I first started getting into affirmations, before I even knew that that's what they were called, I found a quote that I absolutely loved. and I wish I can remember it now, but I don't use it anymore. But I had it written on several different sticky notes, and I put it all around my house. And it was just a constant reminder that I can get through this. I can keep going, keep fighting. It's worth fighting for. So even on my hardest days, I would see that multiple times throughout the day, and it just kept going. It kept me going, and it was a helpful reminder, just, one foot in front of the other. That's all I got to think about. One more step. And what's my next step going to be? And just focus on that. And that's it. So if that's what it takes, yes, absolutely do it. Put them on the ceiling, tape them to the walls, wherever you go, make a pathway on the floor. So you got to step on them, whatever you need to do, so that you can constantly see them. And eventually they'll just become a normal habit for you to quickly go through them in your mind. And it'll help you that much.
Awesome.
Apologize. I'm relieving. I missed some stuff, but I think that when we see things, like I have a few things on my fridge, I have some stuff in my bathroom, I have, in my car, that's just sticky note, or I even tape it to my fridge. It's more powerful when you see it. And I think when you say, even if you can say your affirmations out loud, I think that's even more powerful, because then your brain can hear you saying them. It gets a thing rolling off of your lips. That's normal. Like I am powerful. Like I am amazing. I can get through this trial right now. And like your brain just knows that, yeah, you can.
And I think too, along with saying them out loud, if you're in front of a mirror and saying them and seeing yourself say them, that's even more powerful too. So if you're really having a bad day and you have an affirmation that you absolutely love, stand in front of a mirror and watch yourself say it over and over and over again until you actually believe it. And it becomes easy for you to say.
Yes, amazing. I will say, so when we asked you earlier what is important to you, your answer was spreading your message through coaching and to make a wave of change. So tell us a little bit about that.
Not only my experiences and what I went through, and being bounced from one doctor to another, not being heard, over 10 years of battling this when I had no idea what it was. And then the fight that ensued afterwards with medical professional, just to get somebody to listen to me. It was such a long battle just to get ahead of this thing. And then on the second part of that is working in healthcare for the last decade. I've seen this over and over and over again. And though I used to work graveyard shifts at a hospital here in town, I cannot tell you the amount of attempted suicides that came in. And one of them, unfortunately, happened to be a very good friend of mine of over 20 years. And I knew that this friend of mine had battled depression for a long time. Nobody in her life knew how it had gotten that bad. And to see her come in like that was absolutely gut-wrenching, because instantly I knew what she was going through. I could be in her shoes easily because I've been there. And I have been suicidal, and I have planned to take my own life. I've been there, and I knew that heartbreak. I knew that darkness, and it was just crushing to see that. And it's painful to see so many people battling this disease, but to see somebody that going through it as well, it's just that much more painful. And we're getting close to a year now that an uncle of mine took his own life. So this disease is so widespread, and seeing it in the medical field, they come into the hospital wanting help. They get medicated to calm down. They get pushed off to a psychiatric hospital where they're put on one or more medications that basically make them like this zombie-like state. And like you said, Steph, that's a Band-Aid over it. That's not getting to the root of the problem. Yeah, it'll help for the meantime. It may keep them alive for the meantime, but what kind of life is that? That's not a life at all. And so it's so important to me to show individuals that are suffering just like I did that there is life outside of this, and it's possible for you to control what that life looks like. You can have the life that you want and get ahead of depression, get ahead of this mental beast that's been burdening you for so long. It's possible to be in control of your life, and it's so important for me to show individuals battling this that it's possible just for them like it was possible for me, and they don't have to fight as long as I did, because I can help them get there. And that's such a huge passion for me, because being that I've been there and I know that heartache, I know that struggle, I know that darkness, I know that loneliness, I don't want anybody else to be there, and they don't have to be. There is help out there, and I'm hoping to create a huge wave in the medical field to offer more help, to offer more options to people that are suffering. So this is just the beginning, and I'm so excited to see the possibilities that come from this and where it may go.
TaNelle, I'm talking so much. Do you have any questions?
No,
Because I have a
don't
quick
know where
one.
you're at anymore, so I feel bad. So it's fine. But I just I'm like love hearing from you. So I do have a question though. So if you were to give, so like I help women that are going through divorce or struggling in their marriages, and that can often be a big trial and a big trauma, and can cause anxiety and cause depression during those, my life is over, like my husband doesn't want me anymore, like all these feelings. And what would you suggest or tell these women that I work with to some words of advice, or what can they do to help with this?
Yeah, that is a very difficult situation for anybody to go through, and a lot of times it seems to affect women more than men. Women just have the knack of wearing their heart on their sleeve a lot more than men do. So men struggle too, but to both parties, I would say this isn't the end. This could be the beginning of a beautiful thing. And the term "love yourself first" is so cliche anymore, but it's so true. Love yourself, fight for yourself, because you're so worth it. And your life may feel completely upside down right now, but it's not really as upside down as what it may seem. It's an overwhelming situation to be in. It's like you said, TaNelle, it's a depressing situation. If there's even kids involved, there can be a lot of anxiety around the kids and who's going to be watching them win, and custody and all of that. It could be such a complicated situation, but it's not the end. This is the beginning of a brand new journey, and what that journey looks like is completely yours to create. And so my biggest advice is to sit down and journal it out. Get all of your feelings out, get all of your thoughts around it. Just kind of do a brain dump. Don't worry about grammar, don't worry about punctuation,
Yes.
There's no grammar Nazis that are going to be watching this or reading it. So just get everything that's weighing on your mind and on your heart down onto paper. And then you can go back through and pull out the most important things to you. Okay, so I need to do this, so I need to do that, I need to focus on this more, and organize your thoughts a little bit, because it's such an upheaval that happens so quickly when you go through a divorce that you don't know where to begin. You're at a total loss, you're heartbroken, you're crushed, there's all these thoughts and emotions going on. So get them out, don't keep them in, get them out, get them organized, and say, okay, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do next. Because when you have that organization going on and you feel like you're organized going forward, you get rid of the chaos that you're surrounded by in that situation. And love yourself. Fight for yourself, because you're so worth it. Every single one of us is worth that fight every single one of us is worth that love. But in order to get through a situation like that, or in order to, even in the future, find love again, you're not going to find that again if you don't have love for yourself.
I love that. It's one of my favorite. Like, if you can't love yourself, you can't love other people. It doesn't work. So
exactly. And with that love of yourself comes creating boundaries for yourself. And so if in the future you do get into another relationship, it's important to have those boundaries and to stick to those boundaries, because then you're going to get into a relationship that is truly fulfilling for you, because you know your worth, you know what you want, and you know what you're not willing to accept. And if you're able to stick to those, then you're going to be able to create whatever life that you want.
All of those things.
Yeah, that was great. I love that advice. That was wonderful.
That was spectacular. So Kelli, if people, how are you making this wave of change? How are people working with you? How are they finding you? What are they hearing?
At the moment, I'm doing motivational speaking a couple times a month through my work, and that is just for my work. Eventually, that's going to broaden out where people can come and see me speak as well. But I do a lot of one-on-one coaching as well. So they can find me through my website, which is newrevolutioncoaching.com. They can also follow me on Facebook. I'm just on my name, Kelli Morgan. They can reach out to me there, send me a message through there. And soon, hopefully by the end of this month, I will be launching a free 10-day mental health workshop that will be through Facebook. It'll be in a private group that I've set up. So keep an eye out for that too.
So what's the private group that you've set up? What's the name of the group?
So that one is Mind Your Mind.
Love it.
Yep. So, but that's a secret.
Oh, you don't want people to know?
Yet. No, you're fine.
Oh,
you're fine. Yeah, people are more than welcome to join it now. There's just going to be absolutely nothing happening.
That's fine.
Till I launch the workshop. But
yeah. That's understandable. Like,
yeah. But that will also be the hub for future free workshops that I do, as well as future trainings.
I love the name of that, by the way. Mind Your Mind.
Yes. And that group is completely private. It's either by invitation or request to join only. So anything that's posted in that group is completely confidential. And of course, I am available at any time to be messaged personally. If anyone in that group or that follows me on my Facebook page is not comfortable commenting there, they can always private message me, and I'm more than willing to help them. I also do 1 hour free first time sessions for anybody that's just curious to know if I can help them at all, or curious. A lot of people don't know for sure if they are going through depression because they've never experienced it before. They don't have a diagnosis of it, but they're just feeling off. So they're more than welcome to set up a free 1 hour session with me as well. And we can kind of talk through it and see if they may be struggling with that. And I give them steps right off the bat to start help improving that situation.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I feel like right now and in the next few months, as the world is what it is and shifting, that a number of people are struggling in ways that they've never struggled before, but also just are brand new, right, into everybody around them. And that everybody is suffering means that maybe they don't want to burden somebody else. And I think that fear could potentially hold people back. So spreading your message, I think, is a powerful and important thing, especially right now.
Mm-hmm. And for so many, it's hard to even say the word suicide or to say the word depression, and so I'm popping the lid off that one. I will shout it from the rooftops if I have to. Don't be afraid to say it, because it's real, and so many people are battling it, and it needs to be said, it needs to be heard, it needs to be talked about.
Well, and like you said, it's also, depression is not something that hits just a 30-something-year-old that just lost his job, or like a teenager, a 70-year-old. Like depression is a chemical thing. It's happening inside you to any age and any sex, or right, like it doesn't matter who you are, you can be affected, and to hold it in is I think, yeah, you already said all that. So
shout it,
shout it. That's right, shout it. We brought my son to a concert, and I can never think of the band's name, but it'll come to me before. Imagine Dragons. And he started the concert talking about his struggle with depression and how it needs to stop being a stigma, and it needs to just be, you know, pretty much shouted. And if you struggle, find somebody and find your outlet and find your routine and find your, you know, your thing that is going to keep you going. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. And I just love that.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, my depression, from what I can tell, started at 13. It could have been before then, but the most noticeable point that I can remember was at 13 years old.
It's like seventh grade.
Yeah. What in the world is a 13-year-old supposed to do with such a heavy burden, you know?
Yeah.
Such a large illness. How are you supposed to take that on? How are you supposed to talk about it when you don't even really understand for yourself what it is? So bringing this awareness about it and speaking about it more and letting it be heard more is going to be crucial to help more and more individuals battle this disease that's out there.
Agreed.
Yes, I agree. And getting out and seeing other people to talk about it will help.
Well, I think too, Kelly, how old are you? You got to be like in your late 20s, early 30s.
I'm 31.
31. Okay. So I personally remember when I was in middle school, I had a friend, like she sat by us at lunch. She'd missed school a lot. And she hated coming to school. And anyway, she ended up committing suicide. And that was like it had a huge impact on me. And I constantly tell my kids when they're going to school, be nice to people because you don't know what they're going through. And like you could like seriously change the course of someone else's life just by something you say to them. So.
And as kids and as teenagers, they're so influenced by their peers.
Right.
So like you said, one word, one phrase could just totally make a difference in their life for the better or for the worse.
Right.
So being kind to everybody that you meet, because you have no idea what they're going through, is huge. And even in the workplace as adults, there's still bullying. And now that we have electronics, there's cyberbullying going on, you know. And so if we revert back to where I was saying, you know, love yourself, have boundaries for yourself, have them set up so you know exactly what you will accept and exactly what you are not okay with. Those boundaries in themselves will also work with what others are saying to you. If someone else is putting you down and you have the boundary and you love yourself and you stick to that boundary, then you're going to be able to say, I don't accept that and I'm fine, I'm moving on. But if those boundaries aren't in place and you're easily influenced by everybody else's opinion of you because you don't have an opinion of yourself established, that can make a huge difference in your life. And as kids, they're still learning who they are. They're still forming opinions about themselves, and their peers influence their own opinion so much. So bullying and depression and suicide in teens is on the rise, and it's a huge problem that needs to be talked about, that needs to be addressed.
Yes. Rachel Hollis's quote, "It's none of your business what other people think of you."
Exactly. I love that.
Right? Like just love yourself, and if somebody else wants to think something else, okay. Right.
Yeah, I got to the point where I just started saying, thank you for your opinion. That's all it is. It's their opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion.
Right. Right. Amazing. Amazing. So Kelli, we really like to ask people we interview about books.
Yes.
So can you share with us some books or any, it doesn't even mean like fluff or self-help or anything. Just tell us about books you love to read.
I personally love series. Like if a book has more than one book in the series, I'm down. I love it. I love being pulled into this other world, getting to know the characters in depth, you know. I love it. And it can be anything from mystery to fantasy to any of that. Absolutely love them. One of my favorites right now that is one of those where it's like, dang, get out of my head, you know. It's called Disrupt Her. It was recommended by another good friend of mine, and it's just absolutely just mind-blowing to me. And it's great for men as well as for women, has great advice, but it really gets you thinking and questioning basically everything you've believed in your life before, and pulls at the habits that you have now that are stopping you from personal growth, that are stopping you from healing internally and externally, and being able to make your mark in this world, basically. And it's just, I love it. I keep rereading chapters, and I'm not even all the way through it yet. Like, oh yeah, what did she say about that?
Those are good books if that's what you're doing.
So I haven't even been able to get through the whole thing because I love it so much. But since I was a kid, I've loved reading just fantasy and mystery and all of that. It's just all the suspense that comes with it.
So is this a true book? Is this a mystery? Is this Disrupt
The Disruptor is a true book. It's almost like an autobiography mixed in with it, where she kind of shares her experiences through life, what she learned going through those experiences, and basically how to disrupt your own thinking.
So kind of like a self-help / biography. Love it.
Yep. Which
Those
I've
are
never
my kind
been
of
into the
books.
self-help
I don't like boring books.
I'm with you.
I have to have some kind of characters in there as well.
Yep. That's why I've never turned to the self-help help books. And with a friend of mine, she's like, you got to read this. You got to read this. You got to read this. I'm like, fine, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it out, you know. And once I start reading it, I can't put it down. So this is the first self-help book that I've read, and it's by Nikki Agrawal. So I can send you a message afterwards so we can drop it below, but it's a powerful book, and it's not a very big one. But the message is bigger than what the book is. So
awesome. Those are the greatest.
Yeah.
Yep. Spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
We loved having you. I learned so much, and I am so glad I got to know you, because I really didn't know you before. Steph brought you in, and I just love that. So.
Mm-hmm. And I love being here. This was so exciting, and I'm so appreciative that you ladies asked me to be here. And this is my first podcast. I love it. It was so much fun. So thank you for bringing a new experience into my life as well.
Hey.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, we'll put all your links and everything so people can find you. Perfect. And when it's on Facebook, make sure you comment.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thank
bye
you.
guys.
Bye.
Nice to meet you, Kelli.